Welcome to NHM 467 Hospitality Financial Management. This is actually the second semester I've taught this course. I taught it last summer in the second session, and the response from the students was a success. It was so much of a success that I developed the NHM 310 to be online for summer one. And I actually think that this course is better suited than 310 as an online course. While the 310 was successful, or is successful, I'm still finishing it up. I think that there's some tweaking I need to do and some modifications. So if you took that course, I think that you're going to enjoy this course and the course format a little bit better. Overall, everything is the same if you're in the 310, and if you're not, let me just give you a quick review of the online format. Because it's online, I don't have an office location per se. My office hours are by appointment. I am in town this summer, so I can meet with you in person if needed. If not, we can communicate via email and telephone, and I encourage you to call me on my cell phone or email me with questions. And if we need to, if you're out of town and you want to meet face to face, we can use FaceTime or Skype or something like that to talk face to face. The number I have for this course is my cell number, and of course my email address is the same email address I use in every semester, the jtaylor@olenmiss.edu. You do not have to do your courses or your coursework at any specific time during the modules. There's 4 modules in this course, but you do need to have it done for credit before you take the test. You are going to have the textbook for the first day of class, so I hope that you have your textbook. I know that there is one in the library, so if you don't have one and you're the first one over there, you can check it out. I did send you a copy of the syllabus earlier in the week, and I reminded you that you need to have the textbook for the course. A couple of things about summer courses. This is a 4-week course, which means that if we were on ground, you'd be in class 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. I would expect and anticipate that you're going to need to dedicate 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week for this course. That doesn't mean that you have to do 2.5 hours each day. You could actually go ahead and do 5 hours, and 2.5 hours on 3 days in the week, depending on your schedule, and you should be in pretty good shape. I have this course set up exactly like my on-ground course. We use the same tests. We have the homework in the same format, where you actually do not get graded on the correctness of your homework, but on attempt. I have solution videos of the homework that you can view after you post your homework. And actually, my goal is for you on the homework is to learn or to understand what you don't know, and then go ahead and find out what you need to do to understand or to master the information that's provided, or the requirements of the test. I have the hospitality mission statement and the learning objectives. I'm not going to go over those, but they're there for your review. If you look at the grading of this course, 70% is your exams, and 30% has to do with you doing your discussion questions and responses to discussion questions and homework. So if you do not do the discussion questions correctly and you do not turn in your homework, you can't get higher than a C. However, if you do all of your homework and do all of your discussion questions or responses to the discussion problems, you'll have a 30 before you even take the test. So it's a plus and a minus. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Of course, you need to have taken NHM 215, Accounting 201, and NHM 310 to take this course. And you really need the information to be successful, especially in the beginning. The first 3 chapters, or no, I'm sorry, one chapter, chapter 4, which is a 1-chapter test, is a complete review of the first 4 chapters of NHM 310 and a complete review of NHM or of Accounting 201. So the online participation, like I said, was it consists of you viewing all of the lectures and participating in the discussion questions and posting at least 2 responses to other students in a professional academic format. What that means is that you need to have correct spelling and grammar. You need to go ahead and have something that's substantive. You can't just go ahead and say, Susie, I like what you wrote, great post. That's not a response. Another one would be, Susie, you did a great job of clarifying income statements. I was a little unsure of how the income statements tied to the balance sheet, and you did a great job of explaining that to me. Or asking a question, Susie, I noticed that on your income statement you stated that departmental income is the same as undistributed operating income, and I think that's incorrect, or undistributed operating expenses. Can you go ahead and explain that better to me? Exams, I gave you the module review document. It has the exam dates, so you're going to need to go ahead and schedule your exams now, either through the university or through ProctorU. ProctorU enables you to take the test from anywhere in the world. That's the plus. The minus is I think they charge about $20 a test. There's no other way around that. The 3 of the tests have to be proctored, and they need to be taken through ProctorU. You're going to have a project, which is a chapter 5, and it's a ratio analysis, and that's going to be the equivalent of a 1 chapter test. Your tests, I give you percentage, or I weight them by chapter. So your first test is 3 chapters, for example. Your second test is 1 chapter. Then you have the project, which is 1 chapter. So those are weighted much less than the 3 chapter test. Homework, like I said, you need to go ahead and turn your homework in on a timely basis, and by that I mean before you can take the test or before you take the test. And I do not grade your homework on correctness. Your homework cannot be a scanned handwritten copy of you writing on a notepad. It needs to be either in Excel or Word format, which I consider a professional format. If by chance you do have a scenario where for some reason you're unable to take the test on the test day, I need to know in advance. We'll see what we can do about rescheduling it. I don't like doing that. It's not, ProctorU doesn't like me doing that. The University Testing Center doesn't like me doing that. So I'm only going to do it in extenuating circumstances. And I need to know ahead of time. If you come to me the day after the test was supposed to be taken and give me a line of why you couldn't take the test, there's a good chance I'm not going to allow you to make it up. I will give quizzes, but in this course, last semester I didn't need to give any quizzes. If I give quizzes, it's going to be because everybody did very poorly on a test problem, and I feel like for some reason my delivery method wasn't adequate enough to give you the material for you to be successful. So I would go ahead and develop a quiz to retest you on that information after I go ahead and re-lecture you on it. Like I said last semester, I didn't need to do any of that. We already talked about class participation and attendance. I would, if you don't have the time to dedicate to this class and you think that, or you thought that this class was going to be less demanding, you may want to go ahead and drop it and take it in the fall, where you've got 16 weeks to be successful in it. If you turn in your homework and or your discussion questions after the module's over, I'm going to go ahead and penalize you 25%. So the due date is the test date on all of your module requirements. I use a 10-point grading scale. I do not do minuses and pluses. I don't give out grades over the telephone. However, Blackboard should let you know what your grading is. I had challenges last time I taught this course of Blackboard not calculating the grades correctly, but I think I got that resolved in NHM 310 in the summer 1 semester, and I should have it resolved here. Um, so I'll let you know if the grade book's grading accurately or not, and if you need me to calculate your grade at any point, I can do that if it's inaccurate. Everything you turn in is mine, and of course we're doing this in a virtual format, so this isn't as important as if we were on ground. Keep a record of all of your homework files, and I would actually do the same thing with your discussion questions, just in case your discussion questions or responses. I would go ahead and keep a Word document with those on them, just cut and paste them to a separate document, and that way if for some reason Blackboard crashes, you have a record of everything you've done, and we can go ahead and piecemeal the grade book back together. So your expectations are to invest the same amount of time in this course as you would in a traditional format. Use the discussion area to learn more about information you don't know, especially about the topics that I've provided. All of the topics that I provide in the discussion questions are going to help you in being successful in the multiple choice problems. Everything that you do should be in a academic format. That means that your discussion posts need to be in an academic format. I don't want to see smiley faces, and I don't want to see the letter U used for YOU and things like that. And if you're having any problems in the course or you have any problems that are going to affect your ability to be successful in the course, let me know. One thing I do on the test is on a normal test, you've got about an hour and 15 minutes in a normal Tuesday, Thursday class. I actually give you 2 hours to take these tests online. I do that for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to have to go ahead and type your answers on the problems in. What I would recommend you do is work them by hand on a piece of scratch paper, and then repost those onto the Blackboard test once you've completed them. So far, I haven't had to worry about the honor policy. Of course, if you're found cheating on one of your tests, I'm just going to turn it over to the academic integrity folks who are responsible at the university and let them deal with you. When you're doing your discussion questions, don't just cut and paste from the internet or from the textbook the answers. I want you to write them in your own words because I want you to understand them. So plagiarism is also a violation of academic integrity, and hopefully we won't have anybody plagiarizing in this class. So if you look at the tentative course schedule, you've got a test on chapters 1 through 3 for module 1. It's going to take you about a week to get through the first module. I don't have the exact dates on this, but if you look at your module review document, it does. And then you're going to have one test for chapter 4, and then you're going to have a take-home test, or a take-home project, if you will. So the financial statements, ratio analysis, you'll in module 2, you'll be doing on your own at home and turning it into me via email. And then on module 3, it looks like it's 3 big chapters. The bulk of it comes from chapter 7 and chapter 10, and that's where we learn about time value of money. Chapter 6, there's one PowerPoint slide on the information that I'm requiring you to have from chapter 6, but since 7 and 10 are so comprehensive, I do count that as a 3-chapter test. And then finally in module 4, you have 2 chapters, and that's where we're going to go ahead and apply everything that we've learned up to this point into evaluating leases and evaluating franchise options. And I'm going to weight that as a 2-chapter test as opposed to a 3-chapter test. If need be, I might go ahead and weight that the same as I do tests 1 and 3. And I say that being that if it'll benefit everybody. If you have a disability, I need you to go ahead and turn in your disability information, and I'll send it over to the testing folks, or you can turn it into the testing folks so that they know that you need extended time or whatever it may be. And of course, I've talked about academic integrity, so we don't need to worry about that. And that is actually the syllabus. You're going to have a syllabus quiz. The reason for the quiz, and it's not, you don't get graded on it per se, but I just want to make sure that you've watched this video and that you understand that you need a textbook and that you need to dedicate a couple of hours a day to the course, and that this course is not dumbing down in any way. You're going to learn ideally, exactly what you would learn on ground if you took this over a 16-week period. As I said before, the comments I got from this class last summer were extremely positive, and I hope when you complete this course, your comments are extremely positive as well. What I would recommend you do while you're doing the homework is have the videos for the lectures up, and you can actually go ahead and view the portion of the PowerPoint lectures about the problems while you're working the problems, and it should make life a lot easier for you. And by the same token, if you do it incorrectly and you're looking at the solutions, you can play and replay and play back the solutions. Another recommendation I have for you is when you're watching the PowerPoint lectures, take notes. A good portion of my tests are multiple choice, and a lot of those multiple choice questions come from the PowerPoints. If something isn't clear on the PowerPoints, refer to the textbook. We do use problems from the textbook, and we are going to use a matrix of multipliers for the time value of money from the textbook. So like I said, the textbook is essential. I think that's about it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Like I said, either email, telephone, or if we need to go ahead and schedule a meeting for something more. Once we've talked via email, telephone, we can set a meeting in my office, or we can Skype or FaceTime if you're not in town. Again, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I hope that everybody is successful in the course. Thanks.